Celeste Vaughn appeared to have it all. In her early 40s, she lived in a beautiful colonial home on a tree-lined street in a quiet Boston neighborhood. To the world, she was the perfect wife and mother, with 2 daughters, a flourishing garden, and a husband, Marcus, everyone admired. He was steady, principled, and devoted to her, running his own tech support firm and always there for their daughters, even fixing their laptops on Sunday mornings in his robe. Their life seemed like something out of a Hallmark movie. But stillness, it turns out, didn't always equate to peace. Celeste had begun to feel something stir inside her, though it didn't come suddenly. It started quietly, like an itch that couldn't be scratched. She began questioning if this was all there was to life. Was she done being seen, desired, and truly alive? Marcus, her husband, was unwavering in his love for her, but something was missing. At work, she started to notice Tran Callahan, a charismatic consultant 10 years her junior. He was confident, charming, and carried none of the burdens of fatherhood or mortgages. Their initial conversations were innocent, but they soon became charged with flirtation. One kiss with Tran didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like freedom, an oxygen she hadn't realized she was suffocating without. The affair escalated quickly, from stolen moments to secret hotel rooms. The first time they were together in a conference room, it didn't feel wrong. It felt like something she had been craving. She lay in bed next to Marcus later that night, pretending everything was the same, but nothing was. Marcus noticed, of course, but he never said anything. Instead, he observed, silently taking in the changes that Celeste didn't even try to hide. For weeks, Celeste led a double life, spinning lies with the skill of a seasoned liar. She was still the perfect wife and mother to the outside world, but behind closed doors she was spiraling into something darker, something dangerous. Then one fateful weekend, everything came crashing down. Marcus found an unsent draft in her private email, a message she'd meant to delete but hadn't. It was from Tran, and it was clear. "I can still feel your hands on me. The way you whisper my name like a secret. I want more. God help me." Marcus didn't react the way she expected. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. Instead, he tucked their daughters into bed, kissed Celeste on the forehead, and quietly retreated to his office. There, he poured himself a glass of scotch and made 2 calls, one to a private investigator and the other to his attorney. He wasn't just hurt, he was calculating. He was going to take his time and destroy her carefully, methodically, with a patience only a man of his restraint could summon. By Monday, Marcus had everything he needed. The investigator had followed Celeste for weeks, gathering every detail: timestamps, video clips, hotel receipts, and even pictures of Celeste and Tran locked in an embrace at a gas station. There was even security footage from her company's executive suite, blurry but damning. Marcus didn't confront her immediately. He watched, waited. When Celeste finally spoke the words, "Marcus, I need some space. Maybe even a trip to find myself," he simply nodded. "Take all the space you need." Confused, Celeste left for the Caribbean on a cruise that Tran had booked, certain that she had everything under control. Meanwhile, back home, things were moving fast. Marcus sat down with their daughters, Eva, 18, and Nora, 16. Eva, already cynical about her mother's late nights, didn't cry. Instead, she asked, "How soon can we move out?" Nora, quieter but equally perceptive, nodded and said, "Mom's not coming back, is she?" Not to the life she knew. While Celeste danced under the moonlight on the cruise, Marcus was making his own moves. He moved money, froze their joint accounts, and protected their daughters' college funds. He sold their second car and made anonymous calls to HR at both of their companies, ensuring that Celeste's secrets wouldn't stay buried for long. During business hours, Marcus didn't need to raise his voice to make his point. He simply needed to pull the right thread. He even reached out to Trent's wife, Marissa, a woman he had never met. She answered the phone after just 2 rings. In the background, children were yelling. "You should sit down," Marcus told her. Marissa didn't cry. She simply said, "I knew it. I just couldn't prove it." By the next morning, Trent's belongings were thrown onto the front lawn. Marcus wasn't just making a statement, he was orchestrating a storm. Celeste, meanwhile, returned from her getaway, her face bright from the sun, eager to pretend everything was fine. But she found the locks changed, the girls gone, and divorce papers waiting for her on the porch. The note in Marcus' neat handwriting read, "Don't worry about knocking. You're not locked out, you're just no longer welcome here." The neighbors watched silently as Celeste stood on the porch with her suitcase, shivering in the cool evening air. Not a single one offered her any comfort. Word of the situation spread quickly, but Marcus didn't say a word to anyone. He didn't need to. Desperate, Celeste called Marcus, but he didn't pick up. She texted the girls but they didn't respond. She tried calling Trent but all she got was voicemail. Eventually she found a cheap motel at the edge of town. The walls were thin, the faucet screeched, and the mattress felt like cardboard. Her dreams were no better. Alone in the room she had time to reflect, but not out of remorse. No, it was fear that gnawed at her. Marcus wasn't just ending their marriage, he was erasing her from his life. 2 days later, Celeste sat on the edge of the motel bed, knees pulled to her chest, mascara smeared on her face like battle paint. It had been 48 hours since her life fell apart, since she realized Marcus was not the mild-mannered, passive man she had always underestimated. She called him again. "Marcus, please. I don't even know where the girls are. I never meant for this to go this far. Please call me back." But all she received was silence. The divorce papers he had left behind were cold, clinical, and brutal. He wasn't just ending things, he was making sure she left with nothing but regret. The papers stated that Marcus would retain full custody, and according to the investigator's report he attached, there was no judge in Massachusetts who would argue otherwise. Attached were photos. One in particular made her stomach drop. It was a picture of her laughing with Trent in a towel, her wedding ring still on. Below the photo was a typed list of property assignments. Joint accounts closed, emergency savings transferred, college funds secured. Marcus had claimed full residence, spousal support was waived, and the grounds for the divorce were abandonment and infidelity. At the bottom of the page, in polite, professional font, was a subtle threat. Should you challenge custody or make any public statements, the footage will be submitted to family court and possibly the press. Celeste's vision blurred, not just from tears but from shock. The woman who had once led finance meetings in heels sharper than her wit was now utterly defeated by the man she thought would fall apart without her. She didn't eat that night. Meanwhile, Marcus was adjusting to his new life. He had moved into a rental townhouse with the girls. It wasn't as large as their old home, but it felt warm and safe. There was laughter in the kitchen again, music during dinner prep, and most nights Marcus took walks with Eva or helped Nora with her physics homework. He had resumed therapy, something he had neglected for years. His therapist, Dr. Feldman, had told him something that stuck with him. Forgiveness is not a gift for the person who hurt you. It's the armor you wear so they can't hurt you anymore. Marcus wasn't there yet, but he was getting close. He had already changed the locks, cleared out every trace of Celeste from their home, and donated her clothes. The only thing he kept was a photo of the girls on the front lawn holding a sign that said, "Welcome home, Daddy." He kept it in his wallet. Meanwhile, Celeste was clinging to whatever fragments of her life she could salvage. Her job had quietly let her go for conduct unbecoming, despite her efforts to fight it. The company had airtight policies and Marcus had provided undeniable proof to HR. Trent was also fired the same week. The affair had spread through the office like wildfire. Celeste's LinkedIn was flooded with awkward silence, and even her friends stopped returning her calls. When she finally reached out to one of them, Rachel, her old Pilates partner, the response was blunt. "You lied to us, Celeste. You talked about Marcus like he was boring, but that man worshipped you. You said you were soul-searching. Turns out you were just hotel hopping." Celeste finally contacted Marissa, Trent's now ex-wife. Their conversation was unexpectedly brief but pointed. Marissa's voice held no sympathy, just a quiet, resigned understanding. The damage was done. Celeste couldn't help but feel the sting of her choices. She hadn't just destroyed her own life, she'd made sure Marcus's was scorched in the process too. But as she sat there, she told herself she was healing and maybe, just maybe, one day he'd find a way to do the same. Late one evening, Celeste found herself scrolling through photos on her phone. She saw a picture of Marcus kissing her on the temple, with their daughter Nora chasing fireflies and Eva asleep on a beach chair, her freckled face soft in the moonlight. They had everything once. She had traded it all for a man who couldn't even bother to reply to her texts for days. Just then her phone buzzed with a single message from Trent. "Can I stay with you tonight?" Got nowhere else to go. Celeste stared at the screen, hesitating, typing, erasing, and typing again. Finally, she turned off her phone. The next morning, Celeste stood in front of the cracked mirror in the motel room, brushing her hair mechanically. Each strand got caught in the brush, but she barely noticed. The woman staring back at her was unrecognizable, a person with dark circles under her eyes, her skin dull, her mouth too tired to form a smile. The vibrant woman she used to be was gone. In her place stood the consequences of her actions. Her phone buzzed again. It was Trent. "I'm outside. I brought coffee." She didn't respond. Instead, she cracked the blinds and saw him standing there, holding 2 cups of coffee, a grin on his face, the same grin that used to make her heart flutter. Now it just seemed desperate. She opened the door but didn't invite him inside. "Why are you here?" she asked. "I didn't have anywhere else to go," he said, looking at her with those searching eyes. Marissa changed the locks. "My brother won't even talk to me. You're all I have left." Once, those words might have sounded romantic. Now they felt like chains. "I'm not your sanctuary, Trent," she said, her voice low. "I can't even save myself." "But we had something real, didn't we?" Trent asked, his voice pleading. Celeste shook her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "We had adrenaline, secrets, and fantasy, not real love." He exhaled sharply. "So that's it? You're cutting me off too?" Tears threatened to spill from her eyes as she looked at him. "My life is rubble, Trent. All we did was hand each other matches." Trent stepped closer, desperation in his eyes. "I love you." Celeste's voice trembled as she responded, "No, you don't. You love the version of me that cheated, that lied, that threw away 20 years of loyalty for cheap thrills and perfume-covered shame." She closed the door with finality. That night, Celeste sat alone in the dark, the TV off, her phone silent, and her mind racing with endless thoughts. It wasn't just Marcus she had betrayed, it was herself. Deep down, she'd known that affair wasn't really about Trent. It was about trying to feel seen again, trying to find validation, but in the process she had lost everything that had made her worth loving. Meanwhile, Marcus was moving forward. He stood at the head of a family dinner, candles flickering and a soft classical playlist filling the air. Laughter echoed through the house. Eva had made pasta from scratch. Nora was telling a funny story about a boy at school who had slipped and pretended it was parkour. Their lives were flourishing without Celeste. But Marcus hadn't forgotten her. He still held on to one final piece of the past, a video he hadn't shown in court. He didn't need to yet. He didn't want to ruin her any further, but if she ever tried to manipulate the situation or return to her lies with an act of remorse, he would be ready. It wasn't blackmail, it was insurance. That evening Marcus received a letter. It was typed, with no return address, but he recognized her handwriting. He opened it and read, "Marcus, I don't expect you to forgive me and I don't even expect you to read this. But I need you to know that I remember. I remember every time you made my tea just the way I liked it, every time you fixed something before I even asked, every note you left on the bathroom mirror, every joke that made me laugh too loudly in public. You didn't deserve what I did to you. You were never boring. I was bored of myself. And in trying to find validation elsewhere, I lost everything that made me someone worth loving. Tell the girls I'm proud of them and that they're stronger than I ever was. As for me, I'll find a way to live with what I did. I won't come near your home. I won't fight the terms. I won't poison the air anymore. You win. Celeste." Marcus folded the letter carefully and placed it in a drawer, alongside birth certificates and old anniversary cards. He didn't cry. Not because he didn't feel something, but because he had already grieved for her in the quietest of nights when she was still beside him, her body there, but her soul long gone. Celeste moved into a smaller apartment the next week. It was a one-bedroom place with a broken heater and chipped countertops. She found a job as a billing coordinator at a nearby hospital, far from her days in high-end finance. Each day she wore a mask of normalcy, smiling at her coworkers, learning how to microwave dinner for one, and each night she lay in bed reliving memories that arrived without warning. A song, a smell, the sound of her daughter's laughter in old videos. And always Marcus. His calm voice, the way he held her hand silently after hard days. Once she had thought his stillness was a weakness. Now she knew it was strength. Weeks later, Celeste found herself in a grocery store, standing in line when she saw Marcus. He was with another woman. She was tall, graceful, with silver-streaked hair tied back in a soft braid. She leaned into Marcus as they laughed together. He touched her lower back gently, intimately. They looked so happy. Celeste turned sharply and left the store without buying anything. Outside, she leaned against her car, hands shaking. That was the moment it truly hit her. She hadn't just lost a man. She had lost the man. 3 months passed and Celeste never reached out again. She knew Marcus had moved on. The woman from the grocery store, Rachel Dempsey, was kind and honest. She and Marcus weren't rushing anything, but the connection between them was effortless. The girls liked her too, which stung the most. Not that Marcus was moving on, but that her daughters were fine without her. Celeste still tried to stay in touch. "A birthday message here, a thinking of you note there." Eva replied once with a simple message, "We're doing well. Please don't text anymore." Celeste didn't respond. She got up each morning, made her coffee, took the subway to work, did her job, walked home, ate alone, and slept alone. She wasn't poor, but she was forgotten. The world had moved on and it had left her behind. One night, she found an old wedding album and flipped through it slowly. There in one photo was Marcus, younger, smiling with his whole heart. She touched the photo lightly and whispered to herself, "I ruined you." Across the city, Marcus sat with Rachel on the back porch of their townhouse. He laughed more now. He slept better. The house was warm again. He never showed anyone the video. He never sent it to the press. He didn't need to. His silence was louder than any revenge and more powerful than anything else.